You know, when you think about American cars from the early 1960s, what comes to mind? Big heavy machines with massive V8s up front, right? Fins, chrome, bench seats, the whole 9 yards. They were fantastic, but they were all following a similar playbook. Then, along comes Chevrolet, with something completely out of left field, the Corvair. It was like nothing else on the road in America. It had its engine in the back, for crying out loud. This wasn't some big burly V8, it was an air-cooled flat six engine, kind of like what you'd find in a Porsche or a Volkswagen. It was a bold move, a real gamble by a major Detroit automaker. Chevrolet wasn't just being quirky for the sake of it. They saw a change happening in the market. Smaller, more fuel-efficient European cars were starting to show up on American shores, and people were buying them. The Volkswagen Beetle was a huge hit. Chevy needed a car that could compete with these imports. Something compact, economical, and a little bit different. The Corvair was their answer. It was designed to be a family car, an affordable and practical alternative to the land yachts that dominated the highways. It was a forward-thinking design that challenged every convention of what an American car was supposed to be at that time. The early Corvairs were interesting, but they weren't exactly setting anyone's hair on fire with performance. They were sensible cars. But then, Chevy started to see another opportunity. People didn't just want practical cars, some wanted a little fun, a little excitement. They wanted a sporty compact, something that was nimble and engaging to drive. This led to the creation of the Monza line. The Monza added bucket seats, a floor shifter, and a sportier feel. It was a huge success and showed Chevrolet that there was a real appetite for a performance-oriented version of their unique little car. This shift set the stage for one of the most exciting chapters in the Corvair's history. The car went from being a quirky economy car to a platform for genuine performance innovation. It was this evolution that gave us the two legends we're talking about today: the factory-built, turbocharged Monza Spider and the race-bred Yenko Stinger. One was a pioneer, bringing new technology to the masses. The other was a purebred track weapon, built by a man who knew how to win. Both cars took the humble Corvair and turned it into something truly special, but they did it in very different ways. In 1962, Chevrolet did something that just blew everyone's mind. They introduced the Corvair Monza Spider, and what was so special about it? One word: turbocharging. Think about that for a second. Today, turbos are everywhere, from pickup trucks to hot hatchbacks. But, back then, this was space-age technology for a production car. Oldsmobile had just released their turbo Jetfire, but the Corvair brought the concept into the sporty compact world. It was a radical idea to take this small, air-cooled engine and force-feed it air to make more power. It completely changed the perception of what a compact car could be. The engine in the 1964 Monza Spider was a marvel for its time. It was a 164 cubic inch flat six, but with the turbocharger bolted on, it was a whole different animal. The turbo pushed its output up to a very respectable 150 horsepower. Now, that might not sound like a lot today, but in a lightweight car like the Corvair, it made a huge difference. The power delivery was unique. You'd feel that classic turbo lag, and then whoosh, the boost would kick in, and the car would surge forward. It was an exciting and engaging experience, something you just didn't get from other American compacts of the era. Of course, Chevy didn't just slap a turbo on the engine and call it a day. The Monza Spider package included other upgrades to handle the extra power and deliver a sportier driving experience. It came with heavy-duty suspension to improve the handling, which was already unique because of the rear-engine layout. Inside, you got a full set of gauges, including a tachometer and a manifold pressure gauge, so you could keep an eye on what that turbo was doing. It felt like a proper sports car cockpit. It was a complete package designed for the enthusiast driver. The Monza Spider's influence was huge. It proved that American manufacturers could build sophisticated, fun-to-drive compact cars that could compete with the European sports sedans. It was a pioneer, introducing a generation of drivers to the thrill of turbocharging. Even though it had its quirks, the Spider was a performance bargain and a true innovator. It laid the groundwork for future performance cars, and showed that big power could come in small packages. It was a car that was way ahead of its time, and it really put the Corvair on the performance map. While Chevrolet was innovating with the factory-built Spider, a race car driver and dealership owner from Pennsylvania named Don Yenko had other ideas. Yenko saw the potential in the second-generation Corvair, which arrived in 1965 with a beautiful new body, and, more importantly, a much-improved independent rear suspension. He knew that with the right modifications, this car could be a dominant force on the racetrack in the SCCA. That's the Sports Car Club of America, production racing class. He wasn't just looking to make a fast street car, he wanted to build a car that could win championships, and that's exactly what he did. To do this, Don Yenko created the Yenko Stinger. He would order brand new Corvair Corsa models from Chevrolet, and then his team at Yenko Sports Cars would perform a series of modifications to turn them into track-ready machines. The process was serious business. The first thing to go was the back seat, to save weight and qualify the car as a two-seater sports car for the SCCA. The cars were famously painted white with blue racing stripes, giving them a distinctive and aggressive look that screamed race car. Yenko wasn't just building a car, he was building a brand. The heart of the Stinger was its modified engine. Yenko offered several stages of tune, from the Stage 1 with 160 horsepower all the way up to the wild race-only Stage 4 that could push out an incredible 240 horsepower from that little flat 6. How did he do it? Through classic hot rodding techniques, higher compression pistons, more aggressive camshafts, ported cylinder heads, and a set of 4 single-barrel carburetors instead of the stock setup. There was no turbo here. This was all natural, high-revving power. It was a completely different approach to the Spider's forced induction. The rest of the car was beefed up for racing duty too. The suspension was stiffened and lowered, and you could get options like special brakes and a dual master cylinder. The goal was simple: make the car handle better, stop faster, and go quicker around a track. The Yenko Stinger was not a comfortable cruiser. It was a loud, raw, and incredibly capable machine built for a single purpose: to win races. And when it did, the Stinger became a legend in SCCA racing, proving that the Corvair, in the right hands, could be a world-class sports car. So, you line up a 1964 Monza Spider and a Yenko Stinger. Which one is faster? Well, in a straight-up drag race, the answer almost always comes down to the Stinger. Let's look at the numbers. The Monza Spider's turbocharged engine produced 150 horsepower. That was fantastic for a factory car in its day. However, even the mildest Stage 1 Yenko Stinger started at 160 horsepower, and the power levels went way up from there. A Stage 2 or 3 Stinger, making 190 or 220 horsepower, respectively, would leave the Spider in the dust. The Stinger was simply a more powerful machine. The way they make their power is also completely different, and that affects how they feel to drive. The Spider is all about that turbo kick. You press the gas, wait a beat, and then the power comes on in a rush. It's a fun and dramatic experience. The Stinger, on the other hand, is all about immediate, crisp throttle response from its multiple carburetors. It revs quickly and pulls hard all the way through the power band. On a racetrack, that immediate response is a huge advantage, allowing the driver to be more precise with the power coming out of a corner. The Spider is a thrilling street car, but the Stinger is a precision racing tool. When it comes to handling, the comparison gets a little tricky because we're talking about two different generations of Corvair. The 1964 Spider was based on the first-generation chassis with its swing-axle rear suspension, which could be tricky at the limit. The Yenko Stinger was based on the much-improved second-generation Corvair, with its fully independent rear suspension, similar to what was on the Corvette. Even without Yenko's modifications, the base car handled better. Add in Yenko's stiffer springs and suspension tuning, and the Stinger is in another league entirely. It's more stable, more predictable, and ultimately much faster through the corners. So, in any performance metric, acceleration, top speed, or lap times, the Yenko Stinger is the clear winner. It was designed from the ground up to be a race car, using a more advanced chassis as its starting point, and benefiting from years of hot rodding knowledge. The Monza Spider was a pioneering street car that brought new technology to the showroom floor. The Stinger was what happened when a racing mind took that platform and pushed it to its absolute limit. The Spider walked so the Stinger could run, and boy, could that Stinger run. So, which one is the true king of the Corvairs? The groundbreaking Monza Spider or the race-dominating Yenko Stinger? It's a tough question, because they represent two different philosophies, and both are incredibly important to the Corvair story. Choosing one over the other really depends on what you value most: innovation and accessibility, or pure, unadulterated performance. It's like asking what's better, the first iPhone or the latest one. One created the category, the other perfected it. You can't really have one without the other. The Monza Spyder's legacy is that of a pioneer. It was a bold and futuristic car that democratized turbocharging. Chevrolet took a huge risk putting that technology into a mainstream, affordable car, and it paid off by creating one of the most interesting American cars of the decade. The Spyder proved that you didn't need a giant V8 to have fun. It showed that a small, sophisticated engine could deliver exciting performance. For its role in pushing automotive technology forward and changing public perception, the Monza Spyder deserves a place in the Hall of Fame. It's an icon of innovation. The Yenko Stinger, on the other hand, is an icon of competition. Its legacy was forged on the racetrack. Don Yenko took the Corvair's potential and realized it in the most extreme way possible. He proved that this unconventional, rear-engined American car could go head-to-head with the best sports cars in the world and win. The Stinger is a testament to the ingenuity of American hot rodders and racers. It represents the ultimate evolution of the Corvair as a performance machine. If you want the fastest, best handling, and most aggressive Corvair ever built, the Stinger is unquestionably the king. In the end, I don't think you can crown just one. They are two sides of the same incredible coin. The Monza Spyder is the visionary, the car that introduced the world to the idea of a turbocharged American sports compact. It's the one that made the Corvair cool. The Yenko Stinger is the champion, the car that took that cool idea and honed it into a razor-sharp weapon for the track. For me, the top Corvair isn't a single car. It's the journey from the Spyder to the Stinger. That evolution is what makes the Corvair story so fantastic.